video. There's been a lot going on that I wanted to deal with and put all of my energy into, but now I am here, and this is the third leg of the journey is what I call it. The first video pretty much detailed from the time my daughter was born until the time she was diagnosed with her genetic disorder and all of the things that came along with that up until the time she was 10. So today we're going to go from the time she was 10 to the time she was 16. And her father and I decided at that time that it was best for her to be with him and his wife full time. One of the key words that I really want to focus on in this part of the series is shared responsibility. I want to talk about this because I believe many times as women, I can't speak for men, and I won't. Men are definitely welcome to share their thoughts in the comment, but I know for me and most of the women that I know, when we become a mother, we see that as our top most priority is taking care of and raising our children, but ultimately having primary responsibility for their raising and nurturing and upbringing. And let me also say, within the United States of America, even within the court system, which I do believe sides with women when it comes to custody and financial responsibility. That's because we live in a culture where it is expected for the mother to have primary responsibility when it comes to the care taking, raising, and nurturing of children. Now, what I had to do was come to a point where I understood that her father and I both had shared responsibility of her. Once I got out of that mind frame and I took myself out of the no, it has to be me, a lot of the onus, a lot of the guilt that I feel, a lot of the shame that I feel in being tired, being overworked, not really taking care of my health like I should have, not sleeping and resting the way that I should, and basically running myself ragged mentally, physically, and emotionally, was because I wasn't sharing responsibility. I was allowing her father to do what the court said he could do, and I was allowing him to see her. I was allowing certain things, but I wasn't necessarily in a way of, this is what we want to do for our child. This is what's needed. That is where the shared responsibility comes. And I really wasn't doing that. And it took me years to get to the realization that it was okay for there to be shared responsibility. So if there's anyone else out there dealing with a situation where you are a mother and you are finding it more than challenging, raising and caretaking of a child, and there is another fully responsible capable, stable parent who is reaching out, asking for, can we make this happen? There is no shame. There is no guilt. There is nothing wrong with your answer being, why, yes, of course, I would love for you to do that. So if I could just free anybody today, and if this point of the video about 6 minutes in is all you need, then I've done my job. But now I am going to go on for those of us who are caretakers of anyone with special needs, and that even extends out to when we are adult children taking care of older parents that can no longer do the activities of daily living for themselves. So I want to again go back to the third leg of this journey. So from the time my daughter was 3 months up until the time she was almost 10, it was just she and I literally only concentrated on her. For a long time, in my mind, I felt like it was just going to be she and I. One of those reasons was because after she was sick and we were separating, her father said to me I was the cause of her being ill and not being ever able to be, quote unquote, normal again. It was a very abusive, mentally and emotionally relationship. Never really was a relationship that I should have been in, but honestly, I didn't know better. I had heard of better, but no one taught me how to date. Like, that just wasn't, I was such a nerd growing up that the expectation was, because I was intelligent book-wise and because I was responsible and because I stayed out of, trouble, that would also translate into how I dealt in romantic, intimate relationships, and that just proved not to be true. I'm in a much more mature, healthier, happier state of being and awareness now, praise God. But at the time, I was young and just really didn't know any better. And so when he said that, there was some part of me that held that to be true. And so along with doctors at the time saying that I had a 1 in 4% chance of every child that I had actually having that same genetic disorder. So it was just she and we lived life. I think one of the things that can happen and does happen when you are taking care of a child with many special needs, and I shared that in the second video. My daughter had muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, epilepsy. She could not eat or drink by mouth. She didn't walk. She didn't talk. She could not go to the bathroom by herself. She was what is called total self-care. You have to do everything for her. It is very taxing. It was very hard on my body, and the older she got, the taller she got and the heavier she got, which had began to impact my physical health. But because I was always determined to, live life to the fullest, she and I. So I kept her in therapies. She went to school regularly. I kept work. Decided to even go back to school and get my graduate degree, which was for some people, they didn't understand how I did that. But I am a resilient person. I was raised like that. I'm built like that. So for me, there was no changing of the course of my life simply because things did not happen as in the way that I had normally foresaw them happening. And there are times where I have seen where, especially if it's a woman being the primary caretaker, if finances are an issue, that can cause even more of a strain. And I feel like I was privileged in that I had completed college, that I knew how to use and access resources and networking, like whatever social services were available to assist me with raising my daughter. I didn't say no to anything. And me being able to have my degree honestly allowed me to be in a pool of employment that was gainful for me. And I did have to take her father to child support court because he would not agree to just help financially with the things that were needed, which I don't understand that part, that if somebody's asking you that you don't give. And so the legal system is there as a way of, allowing the primary caretaker to get the financial resources that are necessary. Because as y'all can see, I don't have hair. I don't wear makeup and stuff like that. So I wasn't out spending money on whatever it was. And even if I chose to do that, if I am well taken care of a child that we share together, I should be able to do that anyway. So from the time my daughter was 10, I then got into a relationship, had a second child, and my oldest son, her brother, was born when she was 10. And that changed things in a way because, of course, now I've got a baby in a car seat and a stroller. And now I have a 10-year-old in a car seat and a wheelchair. But I had help. Like my mom came. My mom, every baby that I've ever had, my mom comes and stays at least 4 weeks. And my son was born by emergency C-section. So my mom was there within like 14 hours. My son's father was there. My daughter's nurse was there. I had what I needed. God has always been good like that. God gave me good parents. God gave me good friends. God just put good people in social service agencies around me that saw that I was a mother that wanted to do well and wanted my child to have full quality of life, right? So those times were very fun. We were taking pictures. It was just really a full life. So although we still dealt with the medical challenges that she had, our quality of life just continued to improve. And I really attribute that to God ensuring that I was receptive of assistance. I was I was able to receive support. And I didn't mind asking for what I needed. I did not mind. Um, and fast forwarding now, right? There's my daughter, there's her younger brother, and then I add on 3 others. So now I have 5 children all together. So that is where some of the challenge did come in. And it wasn't so much taking care of my daughter as it was understanding that I wasn't just raising a child with a special needs, but we were a special needs family, which meant everybody had to adapt. Everybody had to readjust, right? And so my children that were growing and being nurtured in talent also had activities and things that I had to concentrate on as a mom. With my daughter, when I say from the time she woke up, I'm getting her up early, brushing her teeth, washing her face, washing her up. So if you're 15, 16, and you're a young lady, we already know what we are going through. So there's about a 1 hour process just getting her ready in the morning. Okay. Just with personal hygiene, and then getting her dressed, and then getting her tube fed, and then getting her ready to get on the bus and standing out. And so once that happens, then getting up and getting everybody else ready where they have to go. And at this time, I am working full time. And then I have to hire and oversee the nurse that is taking care of my daughter from the time she gets off the bus at school until the time that I get home, or at the time until the time my husband got home, which was generally a bit after I got home. So either way, there were things to do. And then my oldest son now, he was involved in gymnastics and taekwondo. It was increasingly difficult for me to get a part-time nurse with the agency I was working with who would stay on the job. Nursing care doesn't always pay a lot. So the agency which I was going through, because of my daughter's age, I was able to bump up into a tier where it went from just the agency paying the person like $9.50 an hour to where I could offer up to $16.50 per hour. Now this was this was about 8, 9 years ago. I want to say 7, 8 years ago, which was pretty good because CNA two, I could pay 16.50 an hour. So I was always able to hire someone, but actually having good, qualified, honest, loyal nursing assistants was a standard that I didn't lower just to have somebody here just so I could work. So that was something that was increasingly stressful for me. Was I was not going to lower the standard just to have somebody in the house with my daughter. I needed to be able to trust the people in my house with my child because she is non-verbal and I don't play that. And I'm quick to catch a case when it comes to mine. So, yeah. So there became a time where honestly, my work began to suffer because if someone called out, then I had to be home to get my daughter off the bus and do all of that. So it went from me being able to work full time to, well, are you really going to be able to be here full time? Because if you're leaving every day at 2:30, 3 o'clock, then you're not really full time. That's not, what we hired you for. So once that began happening, and again, once finances are not a problem, caretaking gets easier. But when finances began to decrease and be impacted, and I think that goes across any situation, it makes things more difficult because the more financially stable you have, the more access you have to money and capital, your quality of life can be better. Your peace can be improved. There are certain services you can afford so you don't have to be so hands-on. So I began to experience a shift financially, but not only that, without the nursing help, me having to bring a child that's 80, 85 pounds dead weight from downstairs to upstairs, from a from a hospital style bed into a bathtub by myself, it became physically taxing in a way that it is really hard to explain to people, because I will tell anybody, caretaking is for the willing. And I was willing, but my body and my mind and my emotions were being heavily impacted, because at the same time I did not want her care and level of care to go down, but I also had 4 other children in the house with which I had to take care of, raise, and caretake and focus on as well. And that was when the shift came for me, and I had a couple of elders who were like, you need to send her with her father. And for a while, I rejected that entire idea for at least 4 years. I wouldn't hear anybody. I wouldn't hear of it. And then sometimes things happen. Instead of you using your own agency and you just making the decision that you should, something happened that forces your hand. I would always encourage people to not let that happen, to be able to be aware of what's happening in you and around you and through you and for you at all times. And it took something grave happening for me to say, okay, can you please come get her? And I'm going to say this. If you're with God and you're standing with God and you believe God is with you, all things are possible. And I remember on a Sunday night, I prayed this prayer. I said, God, if it is within my power to ask of you to have her father be willing and receptive of getting her, because I can't do this anymore. And it's not that I don't want to. I'm not able to do it at a level of care that she needs. Not that I want, but that she needs. And allow my heart and my mind to be at peace with the decision. And I'll know that it'll be a good decision and she'll be going to a good place, because I will have peace when I wake up in the morning. And if you all remember anything from the first and the second video, my life with my daughter has been all about prayer and communication with God each and every step. I woke up Monday morning with a resolve, and I just felt light. And I remember taking her to school. And Tuesdays and Thursdays were the days that her dad would call and speak to her. And I remember him calling that Tuesday evening. I think it was about 7 or 7:30, and he said, hey, my wife and I wanted to revisit with you the possibility of to live with us. And I said, I'm ready for her to do that. How soon can that happen? He said, we can be there Saturday. So that was like 4 days later, and it happened. So I said that quick to say that once you become willing and receptive and align with what God has for you, what God has for those around you, and the assistance from the universe that is being offered, and you understand and are fully aware of the concept of shared responsibility when it comes to child rearing, bearing, and raising, things can happen a lot more quicker and smoothly than you think. So once we did that, I think he had her for about a week or two, and I signed some papers with power of attorney and things like that, legally for school and like healthcare and things like that. And we were able to put those things in order for her. And I think it's been one of the best decisions for my life that I have made. And it's always been my intention to be able to put my children at the forefront of all decisions made for them. So even now with my ex-husband, with my children's father, I can co-parent easily because I have awareness and a concept that I live by of shared responsibility. I have a concept. I have an awareness that every decision that I make, I don't do it lightly. I probably mulled over it for a while already because I'm a thinking person. And lastly, I believe that I'm so in line with the God that I believe in and serve that if it's not to be, then I won't have peace about it. And I'm at a point in my life where I'm at peace with just about everything around me and everything in my life. So I keep my circle small. I make decisions pretty quickly. I don't commit to a lot. I keep my commitments small, but I give 100% to those things that I am committed to. Um, and so, yeah, so hopefully, like I said at the beginning of the video, I have freed someone of the perception of having guilt or shame for allowing the co-parent to be the primary custodial parent, and for everybody to play the role that is necessary.